Hi, everybody. Today, I want to talk about New Jeans. New Jeans is a K-pop group who have been through so many things. So many things have happened to and about New Jeans since they debuted in 2022, and it gets confusing. And I just wanted to put together a little timeline. So, before we get into this, little disclaimer, this video is only for entertainment purposes. Please do your own research. All of my research is actually cited in the description. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a professional of any kind. I am not Korean, I'm not well versed in Korean law, nor any country's law for that matter. Please do not send hate or attack anyone mentioned in this video. So, we're going to get right into it, and we're going to talk about how New Jeans was created. New Jeans was created by Minhee Jin, who was really well known for her work at SM Entertainment with groups like Girls' Generation, EXO, and Red Velvet, among a ton of other groups. She's worked with so many big groups. In 2019, HYBE brought Minhee Jin on to help rebrand into HYBE. They were originally a big hit, and now they're HYBE, and she helped with that rebrand. And she later worked under HYBE's subsidiary Source Music, which let me just pause for a second. If you don't know how HYBE works, HYBE is like basically a big umbrella company, and they do a lot of stuff with music. Anything regarding groups, though, they have a bunch of subsidiary labels that are under them. So, like little mini companies that are under HYBE, that are in charge of managing, creating, running their groups, basically. One of those subsidiaries is Source Music. That is where Min started when she began to create her new girl group, which would turn out to be New Jeans. But while she was developing New Jeans, she created her own HYBE subsidiary label called Adore, which stood for All Doors One Room, and this was used to debut New Jeans under. So here are some quotes from Minhee Jin about basically the whole process of moving to HYBE and establishing her own subsidiary label. What these kind of tell us is that Minhee Jin really wanted her own label, and she thought the fastest way to get it would be to switch to HYBE. She didn't think SM would give her one, or it would take longer. So she moved to HYBE. She really just wanted her own label, and she wanted to make the music she wanted. She wanted to have the look that she wanted, and she wanted to make the group that she wanted. So she established Adore, and she was, according to her, able to establish Adore with pretty much no ties to HYBE's management. Um, she had, like, according to her, a lot of autonomy. So now I want to talk about castings. These three, Miyu, Youngseo, and Yubin, are not actually in New Jeans, but they could have been. Miyu and Youngseo were actually in the pre-debut lineup for New Jeans, but were allegedly removed because Minhee Jin consulted her shaman and was told that the two might be possessed. So Miyu and Youngseo did not actually end up debuting in New Jeans. They both did actually debut in their own groups. Miyu debuted in the J-pop group Mi, and Youngseo was also in the pre-debut lineup for Illit, which is another HYBE girl group, but did not end up debuting with them either. She left HYBE altogether and joined All Day Project. Yubin is currently a member of Triple S. She trained with New Jeans, but it's unclear when she was removed from the possible lineup. Probably before Miyu and Youngseo. These three are the only three that I could find that possibly could have been in New Jeans. So then I will quickly go into the actual members of New Jeans. Minji, Hani, Danielle, Haerin, and Hyren are the 5 members of New Jeans. Recently, it was released how they were cast. So Minji was directly cast by Source Music. Hani was selected during the Plus Global audition held by HYBE and Source. Danielle's manager actually switched agencies and brought Danielle to Source. And her mother is on record saying, if Danielle is not confirmed for the debut lineup, please give us the option to either stay with Source or transfer elsewhere. Heron was cast when a Source Music casting director came to Ongyang to cast Heron there. And Hyen, her parents were actually supposedly personally persuaded by the CEO of Source so that she would join Source Music. delayed debut. New Jeans was set to debut in 2021, but actually delayed their debut because of COVID-19. It also came out recently that part of this delay was actually because Min Hee-jin was establishing Adore. And she pushed back their debut so that she could establish Adore and have the girls debut under Adore. So this next section is really just all of the music that they have out right now. Their first EP is called New Jeans, or NWJNS. The girls debuted on July 22nd, 2022, surprise dropping their first single and music video, and finally announcing their name, as the public previously did not know that New Jeans would be their name. They dropped more songs, Hype Boy, Ditto, etc., all those things. And they were climbing the charts. They were getting big. They were slowly gaining traction, and they were slowly rolling out the names of the members. This EP ended up hitting number 11 on Billboard's global albums, went to number 1 in Korea, and broke sales records for new groups. Their second EP, Get Up, was released on July 21st, 2023, with 3 singles, Super Shy, ETA, and Cool With You. It tied in with a collaboration of the Powerpuff Girls. Each member got a Powerpuff Girl with a character of themselves, and they were featured in the New Jeans music video, which is not to be confused with the group's name New Jeans or their first EP New Jeans. Their second EP also has a song titled New Jeans. Get Up hit number 1 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 1 million copies in Korea. Super Shy hit number 2 on the Billboard 200, making it the group's highest charting single. They also put out a ton of singles and remixes and things in 2023 and 2024. Zero and Be Who You Are were collaborations with Coca-Cola. Beautiful Resurrection was released for the TV series A Time Called You. Our Night is More Beautiful Than Your Day was released for the TV series My Demon. Gods was released as a collaboration with Riot Games and was the theme song for the 2023 League of Legends Championship. NJWMX was a remix album released in December 2023. This was remixes of their first EP, and in 2024, on May 24th, 2024, How Sweet and the B-side Bubblegum were released. This is their only singles put out on this list that were not a collaboration. Then the girls had their final release, not their final, they could still put out music, but their, as of right now, most recent release. On June 21st, 2024, the group made their Japanese debut with the single Supernatural and the B-side Right Now. To promote this, they had pop-up shops open up around Japan, and they also collaborated with Japanese artists. On the screen, I have their Murakami collaboration, which features a crossbody bag and a ton of Murakami drawings that are in his style, but also of the New Jeans bunny. Overall, New Jeans' rise to fame was really quick. They broke a ton of records, they won a ton of awards while they were active. Technically, they were active past June 2024, but this was the last time they put out music. Some notable achievements are they were named a Time Next Generation Leader, Forbes Korea Power Celebrity 40, IFPI named them 8th highest selling artists in 2023. They broke the Guinness World Record for the fastest K-pop act to reach 1 billion streams on Spotify, and they were the 3rd girl group to win Artist of the Year at the Mama Awards, following 21 and Girls' Generation. This kind of all took a turn when Min Hee-jin was audited. So on April 22nd, 2024, HYBE confirmed that it was conducting an internal audit of Adore CEO and New Jeans producer Min Hee-jin. On the 25th, so 3 days later, HYBE made public their intentions to press charges for breach of trust against Min Hee-jin, following the internal audit report. In a press conference about the audit, HYBE stated, according to the audit results, HYBE confirmed and secured concrete evidence that a plan to usurp management control was established under the direction of Adore's CEO. So, Essentially, the allegations made against Min Hee-jin by Hybe, here they're all in front of you. They're on this slide, but also they kind of boil down to Hybe believed that Min Hee-jin was attempting to take a door from them. Basically, she wanted to take a door and make it its own company without the oversight of Hybe, and she wanted to take New Jeans with her. That was the allegations. The same day that Hybe put out their allegations and stated that they were going to sue Min Hee-jin, she did a press conference. And I'm not going to read these quotes, but these are quotes directly from this press conference. But during this conference, she essentially talks about how she feels like Hybe wants her to die. She feels very emotionally unwell, it seems. Um, she says that it wouldn't make sense for her to steal management rights because she controls shares already, and she's received a lot from Hybe, basically. Um, she says, I didn't betray Hybe. Hybe betrays me. Or betrayed me. That's a direct quote from one of this larger quotes. But she basically is talking about how she feels she's being suppressed or framed because of her success. Um, She also talks about speaking directly to the New Jeans members about this, how they called her crying for 20 minutes about this whole situation. She also says, New Jeans is really like my child, so I feel that way. It's so sad to leave my children at Hybe and leave. During the press conference, Min Hee-jin also makes two notable accusations that will come up later. One, she accuses Le Sserafim of essentially blocking New Jeans' promotional path. What happened with this is that allegedly New Jeans was promised to be Hybe's first girl group, but Le Sserafim actually ended up debuting before New Jeans. Hybe says that this was because Min Hee-jin herself actually delayed New Jeans' debut. Min Hee-jin also accused rookie group Islet of being a New Jeans copycat. Both of these groups received a huge wave of hate in response to this, and both groups' labels, Source Music for Le Sserafim and B-Lift Labs for Islet, filed defamation lawsuits against Min Hee-jin. It's also important to note that both Islet and Le Sserafim are also Hybe girl groups, so they're all under the same company. On August 27th, 2024, Min Hee-jin stepped down as Adore CEO and resigned as internal director. Adore appointed Kim Joo-young to take her spot as CEO of Adore. So in the next month in September, Min Hee-jin actually filed an injunction seeking to be appointed as CEO and internal director. Hybe has denied reappointing her as CEO, but did bring her back as an internal director. On November 20th, 2024, Min Hee-jin stepped down from Hybe altogether and no longer worked with the company. In July 2025, Min's legal team shared that basically the breach of contract charges or suit that was being brought against Min Hee-jin was dropped for lack of evidence. However, Hybe and Min are both still involved in a legal battle, as Hybe wants to be able to cash in the put option as Min wants to be able to cash in the put option that's in her contract. Hybe does not want this. From what I can tell, this put option is just she wants to be able to cash in her shares. Do not quote me on that though, because I'm really not totally sure what this is. Basically, Min Hee-jin wants money that she believes that she is owed. Hybe does not believe that they owe her this money. That's kind of what that suit boils down to. While this is happening, while this entire audit situation is happening, New Jeans embarks on their own legal battle, essentially. On September 11th, 2024, all 5 members of New Jeans sat down in a now deleted live stream that spoke about the legal proceedings between Min Hee-jin and Hybe. At this time, September 2024, is when Min Hee-jin was putting in an injunction to reinstate herself as the CEO and internal director of Hybe, essentially. This account was seemingly unaffiliated with Hybe. It was scrubbed empty, so it was either, no one's really sure where this account came from, but when they made the live stream, it was called NWJNS. The account has since been shut down, and the video is titled "What New Jeans Want to Say." Many points of the live stream include the girls denouncing the departure of Minhee Jin, expressing discontent with how Adore is run under the new CEO, discontent with the fact that they found out about Minhee Jin's departure with the rest of the world and weren't told separately. Hani also told a story of a Belif Labs employee allegedly telling Islet to ignore her. Now, I'm going to explain this for a second because this comes up multiple times in the future. Essentially, this story is that Hybe, or Hani was in a Hybe building and she ran into Islet. She tried to greet Islet. Islet's manager told them explicitly not to speak to Hani. This has not been proved or disproven, as the CCTV footage has been deleted. So this essentially is very like he said, she said on that. The girls also ask Hybe to reinstate Minhee Jin as Adore CEO. That is kind of the hill that they're going to die on, as you will see in the future. Here's a ton of quotes, but all of these are pretty much just about how they miss Minhee Jin and why they want her back, and a lot of it boils down to that they believe their success hinges on Minhee Jin continuing to work with them as CEO. In October 2024, so this is after Minhee Jin has been reinstated as internal director of Hybe, or of Adore, not of Hybe. Hani made an appearance at the Korean National Assembly. She made a lot of allegations during her testimony. She once again brings up the story about Islet ignoring her, but she also mentions that Hybe's management repeatedly, deliberately ignored her. So it was not just the Islet manager, it was also Hybe higher ups, essentially. She also alleged that employees of Hybe were on blind talking badly about New Jeans and that Hybe's PR department were asking a journalist to downplay New Jeans' achievements. Hybe later denied that. On November 13th, so 7 days before Minhee Jin steps down altogether from Hybe and Adore, New Jeans sent a certification of contents to Adore demanding that they rectify any and all significant breaches of their exclusive contracts within 14 days of receiving the letter. And they stated that if their demands were not met, they would terminate their exclusive contracts with Adore. Some of New Jeans' demands include identifying and taking action against the person who decided and instructed to abandon New Jeans, an official apology from the manager of Belif Labs who made remarks involving Hani saying ignore her, measures regarding inappropriate remarks made by Hybe's PR staff members, deletion of videos and photos of New Jeans used without consent, preserving New Jeans' unique identity and works, and reinstating former CEO Minhee Jin. Those last two are both connected to bringing back Minhee Jin, as the members consider her return important to preserving their unique identity. Hybe's response was the statement abandoned New Jeans was meant to suggest that Le Sserafim should establish its own group, its own unique realm rather than being grouped with New Jeans and IVE, not to abandon New Jeans altogether. Adore requested a meeting with a manager accused of saying ignore her, but Belif Labs refused. Adore urged Hybe's COO to verify facts and prevent reoccurrence regarding the PR staff members' remarks. Adore is doing their best to resolve the issue of unauthorized photos and videos, although they are not the ones who distributed them. Adore supported the reappointment of Minhee Jin as internal director to preserve New Jeans' identity and ensure their activities. Reinstating Minhee Jin as CEO is currently not feasible. So they stated they would bring her back as an internal director, but they would not bring her back as a CEO. New Jeans press conference. So this happened 8 days after Minhee Jin stepped down. It was on the 28th. Adore pretty much expressed they wanted to speak to New Jeans. New Jeans pretty much said no. And they said that their contracts would end at midnight, November 29th. They blamed Adore for the split. They said that they personally did nothing wrong to breach their contract. During the same press conference, they expressed interest in re-debuting, possibly under another name if they could not get the rights to New Jeans. After this press conference, Adore said that their contracts remain valid. So these are some quotes, but essentially it boils down to they feel that they are in distress. They feel that their contracts have been violated and they are not going to return to Adore. Now we're into their legal battle. On December 3rd, 2024, Adore filed a lawsuit to confirm the validity of their exclusive contracts with the members of New Jeans. Adore claimed they did not have direct communication with the members. They stated that they did not want to actually seek legal intervention, but wanted someone to say that their contracts were either valid or invalid, basically. On December 6th, New Jeans made a statement saying that they had found out about the lawsuit through the media. They pretty much restated their entire stance and said that forcing us to work another 5 years despite this breakdown in trust and contract violations is not only unreasonable but also inhumane. On December 14th, New Jeans launched an Instagram account called Jeans for Free. This was independent from their official Hive Instagram account and only run by the girls, supposedly. And the new account gained over 1 million followers quickly enough that it actually broke records for how fast an idol group was to reach that milestone. In January 2025, Adore filed an injunction to prevent New Jeans from participating in any unauthorized activities during the court proceedings. So this essentially means that if Adore was granted this injunction, New Jeans could not do anything that wasn't a Adore sanctioned activity. This says February 2024, it was February 2025, New Jeans announced they were re-debuting as NJZ and that they would perform under this name for the first time at Complex Con in Hong Kong on March 21st to the 23rd. They would also debut a new song. Except kind of no they wouldn't, because on March 21st, 2025, the Seoul Central Court District essentially granted Hive's injunction, and if the girls were to perform without Hive's permission, they would be given a penalty of 1 billion won per member per instance, meaning this would be about 5 million won per performance at Complex Con. So the Complex Con performance still did actually take place. They debuted a new song called Pit Stop, but they performed under a door during this performance. After this, they announced they're going on hiatus, and we kind of really do not hear from them. We see a couple paparazzi photos, or like photos if they ran into fans, they would take photos. We know that Danielle ran a marathon in Australia during this time, but really, we don't know what was going on with the members up until other than what was happening in court, pretty much. So this is a huge time jump. Last month, October 24th, 2025, Minhyejin announced the creation of her new label, OOAK, Only One Always Knows. Also called OK, I guess. There was a lot of speculation that when New Jeans' legal battle ended, if they were granted a contract cancellation, they would join Minhyejin's new label. New Jeans legal battle part 2. So there was a final court decision made by the court, basically, as Adore and New Jeans were asked to mediate, but pretty much didn't. There was no agreement made, even though they had 2 mediations. So on October 30th, 2025, the court ruled in favor of Adore. New Jeans' contracts were considered valid. None of the members attended their final hearing, but essentially most of their case centered around that they wanted Minhyejin back. The court said it is difficult to conclude that Adore breached the exclusive contract solely on the grounds of Minhyejin's dismissal. In response to the girls' claims that that Adore had abandoned them, the court basically said that Adore had shown proof that they were planning a world tour, full-length album, and several other activities that would sufficiently meant Adore could sufficiently support their careers. They also stated that Menhijin waged a public opinion war not for the purpose of protecting New Jeans, but for the purpose of New Jeans' independence. After the court ruling, both Adore and New Jeans' lawyers made a statement. New Jeans' lawyers said that they would be appealing immediately. Adore made a statement affirming the court's decision and stating that they were ready for a new New Jeans album as soon as the girls came back. And the members had until November 14th to file their appeal, except they did not actually do that. Instead, on December 12th, oh my god, December 12th, November 12th, that is a typo, Adore made a statement announcing that Hyen and Heron would be returning with, or would be complying with the court's decision and returning to Adore, essentially. Um, and allegedly, this was mostly because of Hyen's father, who had already been fighting in court to get legal custody of Hyen so that he could bring her back to Adore. He also allegedly convinced Heron's parents to do the same. The other 3 hours later, actually announced that they would also be returning. This was not in a official statement by Adore, though. Hayen and Heron's statement was made by Adore. Hani, Minji, and Danielle made their own statement announcing that they planned to return, but that Adore was not actually responding to them when they reached out. Um, in this statement, they said that they were delayed in communication because a member was in Antarctica. This says it was believed to be Danielle. I've also heard Hanny. That's kind of up in the air. Um, Adore responded to the statement saying that they were checking on the members' intentions. Because the three members announced their return separately from Adore, it's not official yet. Adore could choose to terminate one or all three contracts, resulting in fines for these three girls. And then on November 13th, 2025, Adore stated that they had set up one-on-one meetings with all of the members to try and figure that out. And that is pretty much where we're at with the New Jeans court case. It has also been requested by fans that these girls make apologies to Islet and LE SSERAFIM as allegations made during the suit and by Minhee caused a lot of hate and vitriol to be thrown their way. Minhee made a statement on the girls' return, supporting their return and stressing that New Jeans should stay whole as 5. Minhee versus Hybe Part 2. I'm not going to go over this really all that much. Minhee is still in 3 court cases with Hybe. 2 are defamation cases with Source Music and B-Lith Labs on behalf of LE SSERAFIM and Islet. And 1 is her trying to enact her put option which is worth 27.8 billion won. She wants her money. That is all we know for now. As of when I'm filming this is our last and latest update on the New Jeans girls. So thank you for watching.